So I have driven around and came into Du Bois Park via Du Bois Road right here. Basically, to get from the inlet, you come back out and you take a right at the main road there. And then at the end over here, you can see a road called Du Bois. Turn right onto that, and then you can get into Du Bois Park. Little Blue is sitting here parked at the pavilion. This is where I used to hang out when I lived down in Jupiter Inlet about 3-4 years ago in my van. So I've got my rice cooker cooking over here. Show you here. So they've got power outlets here, and actually they leave them on. So I'm cooking my rice right here. In the past, the park ranger caught me out here cooking. I asked him if it was a problem. He said no, it was all right. So hopefully they're still, not going to give me a hard time here. But I had started to try to cook the rice on my drive from Jensen Beach to... Actually, I was at Stewart, not Jensen Beach. I was over at Stewart driving to this area here. I'm loose on the bottom there, but I was driving to not Du Bois Park, but Jupiter Inlet from Stewart. And my cooking system failed again. So I've been diagnosing it, and it looks like the problem isn't with the new battery that I just got. It appears to be with the switch back here. The fuse that I had, remember I had made a homemade fuse holder and stuff. It appears to be intact, although I might need to check that also. But I suspect my problem is with my, I don't know if you can see back there, that silver switch right back there. That little silver switch is the this one right here. This is not working, or that's what I think is not working. I'm gonna double check by running the wire directly and then seeing if that brings any power, and if that doesn't, I'm gonna have to take out that switch and replace it with something better. The first switch melted. This second switch is rated at 30 amps, but it may be dead now. I don't know. I'm going to double check it. And then if the switch is fine, then it's my connection over there. It could be my homemade fuse. So we'll need to figure that out. We're going to try to troubleshoot it. And how I'm going to do it is I'm just going to bypass the fuse. Try to bypass the fuse and run a line, and then see if power comes through. If power comes through and without my fuse holder, my homemade fuse holder, inline fuse, and the problems with my handiwork there. If the power doesn't come through, then the problem's with the switch. And how I determine that is I disconnected the house battery, as you can see, the 35 amp hour battery that we bought. So when I flip the unit on, this unit won't come on because there's no power to it. And the power is supposed to be coming from these lines that go up to the vehicle battery. So right now it's not connected, and it's not connected because the switch is off. I also removed the fuse because I don't want to work on that stuff with the fuse in place. So we're going to try a direct connection and see if that gives us power, and if it does, I'll turn the switch on so that the connection is there. Then run the line directly with bypassing my fuse and see if it comes on. And if it does, then the problems with my fuse, we'll see. Alright, as you can see, I got the hood popped up and I have removed the fuse from our homemade fuse holder. You know what I think I'm going to do? I'm going to undo this, and I'm going to put in the store-bought fuse holder and try the system and see if it works. And if that works, then the problem with my handiwork here. Instead of taking apart my switch, I need to check this section here. So I'm going to put in the store one, which we know works. Actually, as I attempt to flip the switch, see how it's getting stuck? I can tell the problems with the switch. My switch is not working right anymore. So this is the second switch that I put in, and I got a heavier duty one, but it apparently still isn't heavy duty enough. I can feel it. It's not It's supposed to flip on and off easily, and it doesn't want to, which means there's a piece that's melted or broken there. So I'm going to have to try to get another switch. I'm going to take this thing apart. I'm not going to bother putting in the fuse to check because I can feel that this switch isn't working right. That totally sucks. Well, I took the switch out and we can see what the problem is. You can see that this side here that connects to make contact and complete the connection has fallen out. It's melted. So seems my weakest components so far have been the switch and the fuse area, because it gets really hot when you're cooking because you're pulling a lot of amps. So I'm gonna have to get another switch. This thing was rated at 30 amps, but you can see it melted, which sucks. So I might even try a regular house switch and see if that works better. I don't know. It won't look as nice, but you know, hopefully it'll handle the electricity going through, because this melted, and that's how I lost the connection. And because the switch was no longer connected, the house battery over there that I had wasn't charging up, so I'm going to have to get a new switch. Alright, $1.16 later, this is what we have. Just went ahead and bought a regular house light switch and front plate. They were actually pretty cheap. The switch was only 69 cents and the front plate was 47 cents. So it was cheaper than the switches that I bought that burned out. Now the plan is just to figure out where I need to mount this and hook it up and make sure it all works. It says it's 15 amps, but that's at 120 volts. I don't know if it'll work with my 12 volt system, but I guess we'll find out. I have to keep an eye on it. So it's just a matter of hooking it up right now and making sure that it works, and then figuring out where I can mount it. You know, things never go smoothly. I switched out the my burnt out switch with the house switch here, as you can see, and it should be just a simple connection, but then I still couldn't get it to work, and was fiddling around with the homemade fuse thingy, and it fell apart on me because I didn't, I clamped it down, but I didn't solder it or anything. Because I didn't solder, and I thought I could just clamp it in, but as you can see, I put the older one, the original, with the 12 gauge wire, which is weak, but the rest of the system is 10 gauge. And I have my switch right now all hooked up. This line that you see here comes from, well, this top line here comes from the battery, and then this one goes to the inverter right here. So the second one here goes to the inverter, and right now it's switched on. So I should be reading power. You can see I've got the system already turned on. Right now it says 120 volts at we got 13.8 volts coming through. 13.6, 13.8. That's what the engine is generating right now, or the vehicle battery. As you can see, it's disconnected from the house battery, so that's where the power is coming from. If I switch off the switch here, then it should go down to 0. It should turn off the inverter. So I'm going to switch it off. Hear the inverter die right there. I don't know if you heard it going, eee! And then it ran low on power. So the inverter has shut off because there's no power coming to it now, because the switch shut it off. We shut off the power to the switch, from the switch. So that means that the wiring is working now. The question is, will this switch hold? I think it should. It's a household switch I got from Home Depot just now. We're actually at the Home Depot parking lot working on this. So anyhow, I switch it back on, and I should be able to turn the inverter on. So let's go take a look. Okay, inverter is shut off, so now we're going to turn it on. And it's on. And we got 13.7, 13.8 volts in our vehicle battery. So now all we have to do is just hook it up to the house battery, and the house battery will charge back up, and the system should be working again. Except we need to cut a hole here to mount this thing. I had, you can see I kind of marked the hole here. So I'm going to try to mount this guy in there. And I'm mounting it with the on switch up. And when it's down, it's off, because things will hit it. That way it can stay off most of the time. We don't really want it on unless we're using it. So it's just a matter of making things look pretty at this point. I've hooked the clippers there, the clamps, from the inverter to the house battery. So right now power is being drawn from the house battery and it should charge back up. I do have the switch over there disengaged. I have it turned off. So right now when we take a reading, when we turn it on here, this is running off the house battery, this little battery here, the leisure battery, and it's at 12.6. So that's the charge that it has right now. It's 12.6. When we throw that switch, it should jump up to like 13 point whatever, 13.7, 13.8, because that's, so I had switched it off, so I'm going to switch it on here. Okay, so now it's connected again. What we're doing is we're connecting the house battery to this vehicle battery. So at this point, see, it says 13.6, which means it's charging. Well, 13.4, 13.5. So the system is charging back up at this point. So everything is working now. I just need to reassemble everything and make it look nice. It took quite a bit of work to cut this out. I ended up hooking up my inverter, drilling, and then cutting and using the pliers and scissors to eventually carve a hole there to let the switch fit. I pulled the wire under here. The wiring this is the wiring that comes from the house battery, the vehicle battery, and this goes to the house battery right there. So the switch is now mounted here. I just need to put the faceplate on it. When you're working on this stuff, it's advisable to remove the fuse. So I had removed the fuse right now, which I'm going to plug in. But let me make sure it's off. Okay, it's set to off right now. Down is off, and up is on. So I'm gonna put the fuse in here and then test the system out. I've installed the fuse, and now we're looking at the house battery right now. It's reading 12.5 because I had accidentally left it on, but it's reading 12.5. When we throw that switch, see, the fuse has been installed, so the system's live now. When we throw the switch, that number should go up because we're now pulling power from the house battery, which should be higher than 12.5. So that's 12.6. So it wasn't much higher than 12.5. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start the vehicle up and see if the unit's charging now before I totally assemble everything. We'll go ahead and shut the switch off again before we start the vehicle, because I don't want to risk blowing the fuse. And then we're going to crank this guy up. Alright. Vehicle has now started. So let's throw the switch now to bring the unit live, and it should be saying 13.7, 13.8, because that's what it was reading when the alternator was generating power. So that's 13.6, 13.5, which to me is fine. So right now the house battery is charging off the system, so it looks like our wiring's good, our switch is good. And I'm just going to pray that this thing lasts. And if it does, and you haven't built your van yet, and you want to do what I did, then I recommend skipping those stupid electronic switches. I had a 20 amp one and I had a 30 amp one from Walmart. Each of them was like $3, $4, and they both melted. So we're going to try with the house switch now. So with this house switch right here, I can flip it on and off to connect the two systems. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this faceplate and put it on here and show you the results. Alright, we've installed the faceplate, and now Our system looks weird. Looks like a house with a switch. So up is on, it's connected right now, and down is off. Hopefully this is the last time I deal with the switching issue. I probably should have went this route from the very beginning, but I wanted it to be small and not, you know, so big. I could have left the faceplate off or made my own custom faceplate that might look a little bit better, but this is fine. This is a nice little plate to turn it on and off. So system's off now, and system's on now. So let's go look at our charging and see if the unit's charging up. As for my fuse here, I'm going to rebuild my 10 gauge 30 amp fuse and try again, or just have it as a backup, but I'll leave that 12 gauge wiring right there for now. So I was saying 13.6, which to me is fine. 13.7. So the system is charging up right now, charging up the house battery, and we should be good to go. No power is being drawn, just charging right now. It looks like everything is working. Our unit is back up and cooking again. I have power running through, the inverter's running, and to celebrate, we're going to have some bacon. You know, I was supposed to have this bacon with rice and eggs this morning at the Jupiter Inlet, but because the system went down, I couldn't cook. I tried to cook at the picnic pavilion over there, but the park attendant said that you can only use it if you reserve the pavilion, so I'm not allowed to use that anymore. So even though they have electricity there, you can't use it. So don't plan to use that big pavilion unless you can sneak there and do it. But he was saying that if the residents see you, they may call the police on you. So I decided not to try that. So I'm going to get my unit back up and cooking, and head back to Jupiter Inlet to try to enjoy the inlet, and then maybe we'll go look at one of the beaches, and then I've got to go meet my friend later today. So this took quite a bit longer than I thought it would. Actually, I didn't account for this time, but it took about, I think, about 3 hours. Well, maybe more like 2 hours of working and trying to assemble the system. But I think the system's a lot stronger now, other than the fuse. You know, we put the original fuse with 12 gauge wiring. So I'm going to have to fix my system with the 10 gauge and put that back there, and then I think the system's optimal. But we'll find out. You know, I thought it was good when we replaced the switch with a 30 amp switch, but that thing overheated as well. So we'll see what happens with the using the house switch, which ended up being like way cheaper. It was like less than $1.25 with tax to buy the switch and the faceplate, as you can see here. I mounted it right there, and luckily it didn't hit the door when it shuts. So bon appetit, everybody.